It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnett Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
It's Freeman Michaels here with my co-host,
Barnett Bain. How are you, Freeman?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing really well. It was it's been a great week.
It has.
Been a lot going on this week, huh?
It's been a lot going on for me. It's been a bit bumpy for me, but sometimes bumpy is okay. There's something that comes at the end of bumpy that I'm learned to be grateful for.
Yeah, the flats.
Things even out for a minute or two.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little deeper than that. It's my relationship with disappointment, my relationship with, I guess it's my relationship with expectation. You know, on one side is expectation, on the other side is a sort of disappointment. But there's a way in which, as I move through these pieces, there's an acceptance. And we talked about this a little bit last week. Really beautiful conversation, by the way. I've had the opportunity to go back and listen and watch a couple times, and a kind of acceptance, which I think is a bit of seasoning, and it comes when we face a lot of disappointments coming at the same time, you know, like sort of sequentially, like bang, 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 bang. And it's, at least in my experience, there's a calm after all that, after sort of weathering it and handling it, that I've learned to be grateful for. And there's a level of resolve to what, there's a clarification of who I am and sort of what I stand for. There's a beautiful piece from that poem, The Invitation by Orion Mountain Dreamer. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
And she talks about, you know, sort of having gone through a night of turmoil and challenge, and then getting up the next day to do what needs to be done for the children.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's sort of like I think of my creative outlets and the things that I feel called to do almost like my children. And in spite of all the setbacks and the ways that I feel challenged, there are still these things that are what my life is about, that I have to get up and go back to work to do them, because it's what I feel compelled to do in my life. And so there's something about having weathered all the storm and the sort of little, you know, phoenix, as it were, that rises out of the ashes is this clarity of, no, this is what I'm meant to do, you know, like having kids.
Well, you find what you're meant to do if you're very lucky, if you're very focused, if you're very committed, if you're respectful of self, of others. We find eventually what we are passionate about doing, and then I think the opportunity is to do it with excellence.
Yeah.
To do it with excellence.
You know, and there's a note in it about the quality of the experience that hooks us. You know, radio, for example, and just doing this show. Our listening audience doesn't need to know the details, but suffice to say that there's been bumps along the way in terms of just keeping everything going, and yet we love what we do. And so I do it. And how it's all going to work out, I'm not always sure. So there's a lot of those nights of you know, sort of feeling battered and bruised, and yet knowing that there's something that I do in the world, there's an expression of me that I'm committed to.
Committed to, and you do well.
Yes, exactly. They're part and parcel.
Something you do well, and something that both feeds us
Yeah.
in every way, and feeds others. Gives others. If it doesn't have a give, if it's only about the get, you're not firing on all 8 cylinders.
And look, a big part of this is being able to go with the flow, allowing for these waves, if you will, to come in and crash, and knowing that there's another wave behind it, or another wave coming at me from a different direction. And there's an agility, sort of an emotional agility, an ability to sort of, you know, hang in there, and to have some level of foresight and a sense of knowing how the waves go. Even when they're really rocky, there's a sense that a part of me knows how to handle this.
How to handle it, how to have a sense of vision, sense of purpose, and a sense of mastery. There comes a point in which you have a sense of mastery.
just so happens we might know someone who can.
Yeah, we may have
Speak to us.
someone we can
Call on?
call on, refer to for a little heads up on what it is to have both mastery and passion and vision, and to learn how to kind of go with the flow with all of that.